Ciso. Oh, it's fabulous! A strike to get you up off your seats.
Hello and welcome to Seagulls Social. This is the Chelsea versus Brighton preview, and we are joined by a very special guest, a very well-liked guest in the Brighton community, Rory Jennings. How are we, Rory? You good?
Terrified.
Why? We're nice. We're okay.
I know you're nice, but because I'm not always nice, I've kind of set myself up for a fall here, haven't I? I do appreciate you having me on, but yeah, I'm full of fear and trepidation, to be totally honest with you.
Is that just in football or in life in general?
Oh, what? Just in the way I conduct my daily business? No, that's my approach to life. But no, particularly for coming on here with you, because I haven't always been particularly kind about Brighton Hove Albion. And despite so I'm honoured. I'm honoured to be here. But yeah, slightly intimidated.
No, I mean, look, you should be a tiny bit, not too much, but no. Look, we're going to talk about Chelsea, Brighton, of course, and how you see it going. But yeah, we will ask you a few questions, Rory, as I'm sure all of our audience want to know about your thoughts on Brighton, because yeah, you have been quite vocal about us as a club, so it'll be interesting to see, to talk about that. But yeah, first of all, Rory, how do you feel like your start under Maresca's been? Obviously, you've been slightly critical of Maresca at times, and also Pochettino in the past. But are you happy with the way Chelsea have started?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be happy when you consider that we've got, 10 points from a possible 12 and currently sit one place and 1 point below Arsenal. Like, that can only be seen as a good thing, can't it? My point, and this is a point that I've made that hasn't gone particularly well and hasn't been particularly well received in the Chelsea community, is I don't necessarily think that that's representative of who we are. And I'm suggesting that we may need to proceed with a bit of caution. For example, the teams that we've beaten so we lost to City, we drew with Palace. The teams that we've got good results against are all in the bottom 8. The teams that we've got good results against, between them, have got 2 wins all season. So I'm just suggesting that although the points tally looks quite impressive, where we sit in the league equally looks impressive, I'm suggesting that there is a chance that, considering Bournemouth played us off the park the other day, that we're not quite as good as maybe the league position would suggest. Yeah. But that hasn't gone down well. That's not a popular viewpoint.
No, I agree with you, though. I do agree with you. Like, it's a very good point. Because I mean, like, the start of your pre-season was atrocious. That was awful. So going into the season, I thought, Chelsea are going to have a stinker here. But yeah, you are right with the teams you have played. Like, I think you made a really good point on the overlap about West Ham have they lost 3 opening games at the stadium for the first time in their history, right? Which is insane, because we all thought that they were going to be really good this season, and you were fortunately one of them, and unfortunately for Brighton we weren't, because we probably would have beaten them as well, because we love playing West Ham. But no, I completely agree with you. So I'm surprised some Chelsea fans have taken it so badly.
I think, do you know what I think it is, Maz? Do you get this as well? Because obviously we were on the overlap together. I think that the fans of the club that you're on to effectively represent, like, I don't consider it that. I'm there to give my opinion. Yeah. But I think what the general consensus is that you go there and almost defend your team, portray it in a positive light. Yeah, but of course. I'm not feeling particularly positive about it, and therefore it would be disingenuous for me to act like I am. So that's why I'm getting it in the neck today.
Yeah. Well, we had it in the summer, Maz, where we signed quite a lot of players, and we signed a lot of Eredivisie players. And me and Maz were quite vocal, like, I don't know why everyone's getting so gassed about these signings. Obviously, Minter's turned out to be decent. We'll see a lot better from him. But the Brighton fans didn't like that. A lot of the comments on that didn't really go down too well. Right. So we know your pain.
You've had your own experiences of it. Yeah, turn the notifications off and hope for the best.
yeah. Just talking to the players, Rory, obviously you've signed a lot of players, and do you know what? When I was looking at your squad, I was actually at the West Ham Chelsea game, and I saw you guys play at the London Stadium, and I thought, going forward, you were brilliant. Maybe defensively, again, West Ham didn't actually do anything to worry you defensively, but are you worried about your defensive unit? Because obviously there's been a bit of talk about that.
Massively. Do you know what I would say? I would say that you could easily argue that Chelsea are the best in the league for attacking players in terms of depth, specifically in terms of depth. So our second string, for example, played against Barrow. Our second striker came in, scored a hat-trick. I know it's Barrow, but just to make the point, our depth, whoever you think plays, it's like if Jadon Sancho doesn't play, Joao Felix does. If Cole Palmer doesn't play, maybe it's Madueke. Like, the depth is huge in terms of offensive players, and arguably the best in the league. However, at the back, I think you could almost argue that the that the opposite is true. At the back, there is no real defensive cover. If Cucurella gets injured, who plays left back? We were told that Chilwell was frozen out. He's been brought back into the fold. All of the goalkeepers that we have, I don't necessarily think are good enough, despite Robert Sanchez is... Like, Robert, you can tell me,
seven
actually,
goalkeepers you got?
Lads, you can tell me. Like, Robert Sanchez played very, very well for us against Bournemouth. But is he good enough?
No. Not for Chelsea.
That was a real surprise when Chelsea
one.
went for him. I thought he was going to go back to La Liga when he was kind of casted out by Brighton. I thought, La Liga is probably a good shout for him with the Spanish links. But when Chelsea came in for it, I thought, are they just signing him because they just love signing all our players anyway?
Yeah. I mean, it really didn't make sense to me because also at the time he wasn't getting in your seat. He was still starting, wasn't it? Yeah. So effectively, we went and signed your...
Something until I die, Jason Steele starting over Chelsea's number one. It's incredible.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And you've spoken about the defensive side and obviously a lot of players in the squad as well. But talking of us, again, we're going to get onto what you think of us as a club. But in terms of on the pitch at the moment and to start to the season, have you been impressed with the way we've started? And what do you think of who do you think is the biggest threat to Chelsea come Saturday?
Amazing. I mean, you mentioned this. You mentioned this when we were working together on the overlap, and I don't think it's an incorrect suggestion at all. I think that Brighton and Hove Albion are undoubtedly one of the best run clubs in world football. There's no two ways about it. The way that you conduct your business is unbelievably good. The way that you identify talent, outrageous. You think about what you've done at left back, for example. If you use that as a case study to demonstrate the brilliance of the recruitment, your player of the year, Marc Cucurella, leaves. You then replace him. You make a fortune. You replace him for about £4 million, and at the time it looked like you'd replaced him with a better player. Like that has been done at Brighton so many times and is so impressive. I think Tony Bloom is an icon. I play a lot of poker myself, so he's a bit of a hero on that front. He's a bit of a hero on that front, and obviously what he's done for the club. So there's no doubt that I appreciate the brilliance of Brighton the way they run. We'll come on to other comments I've made about Brighton, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. But in terms of the club and the way that you run, sensational. And in terms of the first team, I think that you're a dazzling outfit. I can't believe how you've managed to survive manager after manager. Potter, you lose Potter, it feels like everything's gone wrong. You bring in De Zerbi, it gets even better. You lose De Zerbi, at the time I felt like that was maybe the end. You again get even better, at least in the early days of Hertzler. So I am very impressed with the way that you run, and I don't think it's an extreme suggestion to suggest that that Brighton and Hove Albion are the best run club in the world.
Love that.
It is mad though, because Hertzler wasn't our first option as well. So to think how good would we have been if we got our first option? It's just it's mind-boggling that. Yeah, I think so. We were going for it was McKenna was the number one,
right?
And then apparently was it the Sparta Prague manager said that he was contacted as well.
Right.
But that surprised me. I don't know if his agent was just saying that for clout or anything like that.
It's just the depth and the ability to roll with the punches, isn't it? It's just even if it doesn't go your way, even when you lose your manager mid-season, it's that ability to constantly reimagine yourself and constantly reinvent that I think it's very rare, but equally impressive.
Yeah. No, it's definitely something we're going to touch on as well about the sustainability, because I know that was one of your comments about whether it's sustainable to be able to carry on replacing managers, replacing players. And look, I think it's a fair comment. Is it going to last in 5-10 years? Who knows? It's only so far that the Star Lizard can take us in the sense of replacing. But we've done a good job so far. I will put that on record. We've done very well. But one question someone wanted to ask Rory was obviously with our mass exodus to Chelsea, which is one player you'd like to join that exodus and join Chelsea? If you could pick one Brighton player, who would you pick?
Well, I mean, you've got a wealth. You now have a wealth of talent, don't you? I mean, everybody's aware of Joao Pedro. I've got a mate who's a Watford fan who bangs on about him, and so people are very aware. In terms of the standout player, if Chelsea were going to sign one, I've always liked Matoma. Do you know the goal that you scored? I think it's first day of the season at Goodison Park. I think it went winger to winger. I think it went Minter across to. I just thought that was glorious, and everyone involved in that was brilliant. I've been a long time.
What about Danny Welbeck, Rory?
Mate,
He'll do a good job at Chelsea.
I love Welbeck.
Surely.
Do you know what?
Mate, you can't fit any more players in the attacking position.
Mate, I love Welbeck. Not even as a joke. I genuinely do. I got in a bit of grief. I got quite a lot of stick on the build up to the Qatar World Cup. I did that Saturday social show with Robbie, and I said Danny Welbeck for England. like for the Qatar World Cup, and everybody thought it was a ridiculous suggestion. But the closer we got to that World Cup, I think the more weight it sort of got, and the more believable it could have been. And I think I do believe
The only thing you said that Brighton fans
sensational.
agree with you on as well.
Yeah, I think it's class, man. I really do.
It's the only thing that's aged well, Rory.
Oh, I tell no. There's one other thing. There's one other thing which again Brighton fans won't acknowledge, because I've been very snide about the club, and I do appreciate. There's no reason why they should give me any sympathy whatsoever. But another thing that I used to always acknowledge was quite how good Pascal Gross was.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree.
I still think he's underrated. I don't think he gets the props that he really deserves. I know you said he's one of our best ever players, and you're right. He is genuinely probably our best ever player alongside Lewis Dunk, who's obviously still at the club. But yeah, Pascal Gross, the output
I
he
put
gave
Gross
in
in.
the
I put Gross in a team of the season maybe 2 years ago. 1 year, yeah, it must be 2 years ago, and everybody thought it was insane. Apart from a very few,
Peter Drews.
there are very few Brighton fans who were kind enough to go, I hate this guy, but he's right on this.
Mate, small wins, Rory. Small wins.
Exactly. You take away, you
But
can
no,
find them.
Another person who's good with his words, Rory, was Peter Drury. He famously said it like a year ago as well. He was asked by who's the American Chelsea fan? I can't remember what his name
American
is.
Chelsea fan.
But anyway, yeah, he's the journalist as well, I believe. I can't remember what his name is.
Eduardo something?
No, maybe it's not him.
Camavinga.
He films it right
Eduardo
sometimes, but anyway.
Camavinga.
no. Anyway, Peter Drury said it, and honestly, it made me fall in love with the man even more, because he was asked who's the player that never makes the headlines that should, like who's the most underrated Premier League player of like the recent decade, and he said Pascal Gross, and yeah, that was amazing to see someone like Peter Drury give him his flowers like that.
Yeah, I agree. The problem that you're always going to have, I think, at Brighton though, is because of the size of the club. When you unearth these talents, whether it's Caicedo, whether it's Leandro Trossard, whether it's Cucurella, the shelf life of them at Brighton, I feel like it's always going to be quite short. I know that Gross would perhaps contest that, but unless you can kick on, which I think you can, by the way, I don't necessarily want you to, but unless you can kick on to European football, I think it's going to be very difficult to keep players like that at your club. But then I suppose it doesn't matter if you can just unearth another one.
Well, yeah, so it goes back to sustainability, but also, to be fair to you, like, there was comments just last week, Julio Enciso came out in the press and he was like, basically, I want to get in the first 11 so I can basically get a move, which doesn't help our case when we're trying to fight people like you, Rory. It does not help when the players come out and they say these things that basically back up a lot of what people are saying, is that they're using Brighton as a platform to get a bigger move, which is, look, we get it. We understand. Look, Chelsea, Champions League football most seasons, I know not this season, but most seasons, better wages, more prestigious club, a bigger club. I get it. I completely understand it. But it is frustrating at the same time when you get basically stripped of all your assets by a club, at the upper levels. You've got Jewel, Winstanley, and then you got the players on the pitch as well. It is frustrating, and I get why people... I've got a distaste for Chelsea purely because of the way they've conducted their business.
Chelsea are up there for Palace with a lot of Brighton fans now, which is incredible.
Which is mental.
But but Rory, do you get frustrated when you're constantly taking stuff from Brighton? Do you think, well, this player hasn't worked? I know Cucurella's now getting a lot better, but you just took, it was only 2 weeks ago when you took another one of our scouts. Like, do you find it frustrating that you keep coming back to us?
Yeah, I do really. I do, because I don't think that it's overall our raid of Brighton, and it was a very disrespectful raid. We just effectively turned up and sprayed our money around the south coast and demanded your contents. It wasn't how you really want to do it. And to be frank, I totally concede that the vast majority of the players that we took from you were excellent for you. But aside from Caicedo, who's just been a gift, like really good, and quite often a one-man midfield, apart from him, a lot haven't
unbelievable
worked.
Saturday, by the way.
He's unbelievable. He's just a brilliant player. I think a lot of people didn't want it to work. He had a dodgy debut, but he is turning into the player that we thought he could be. But the vast majority that we've taken, and I mean, Winstanley would be the jewel in the crown of this, haven't worked and aren't popular and aren't doing what we wanted them to do. So yeah, I do think it's ridiculous to keep raiding the club when we have been burnt. We've also been held to almost like bonkers levels of price, like the price that we've had to pay for various, the price that we paid for Potter. It's laughable.
We joke a lot. We say Todd Bowley should have bought Brighton at that point. Like, he really should have.
Well, he did.
He
spent enough money to.
Mate, what was I genuinely saw a figure. I think it was 400 million he spent just on I could be way off it there, but he spent in the hundreds of millions on Brighton assets, whether that's players, staff.
Yeah, I mean,
even the dinner lady probably cost about 10 million.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not. It can't be far off that because it's not. Just off the top of my head, if you think Cucurella combined with Caicedo, at the very least, you're pushing £250 million there.
Yeah. It's mental.
So no, it is ridiculous. But I do understand, by the way, the tribalism and the aggression within the correct realms within football and the over sanitisation of football. I think is a problem. Something I don't like. I think Brighton fans, and I empathise with Brighton fans, and almost back Brighton fans in hating Chelsea. Of course they should. Of course they should. You know, it's like it's ludicrous. Yeah, no, Rory, and as well you should. And also you keep beating us as well, so the feeling's becoming mutual.
Well, yeah. Yeah, look at that. Right, final thing before we get on to your comments and what you said in the past about Brighton. Quickly, with regards to Saturday, how do you see it going? Do you feel like it's going to be a walk in the park at Stamford Bridge? Or do you feel like we can cause a problem?
I mean, you're unbeaten. You're similarly unbeaten. So, you know, apart from our opening day defeat against Man City, we're on a good run. You are totally unbeaten. I think this is the first test for Chelsea, really. I think this is the first time that we're going to know who Chelsea are. If we come out of our fixtures against you and Forest with maximum points, then maybe there is something going on. Maybe Maresca is getting it right. Maybe we can start dreaming of the Champions League. But this is the first test that I think we've had since we played Man City on the opening day. I'm not particularly confident, but I also think that we are capable. We just didn't play. Our last home game was against, we haven't won at home this season yet. The fixtures haven't come along.
Oh, wow.
But no, we haven't we've only played 2, but Crystal Palace got a draw. Crystal Palace got a draw at Stamford Bridge. So I'm quite nervous. What about you boys? Are you coming into it confident? Are you coming into it thinking the 3 points are there? You take a draw now?
I'll probably take a draw. I'm definitely more confident than I am. Weirdly, because we play a lot better against the bigger teams and the teams that like to play football. So when we done our Ipswich and Forest preview, we were both, and our guest that we had would say draws because we struggle against the teams, and teams come to the Amex now and actually sit back, which is obviously a compliment, but it's frustrating as a fan. So we know what it's like to be a big club now in that respect. Too much respect. But then we against Arsenal and Man United, where we've played really, really well. Obviously fortunate with the Declan Rice situation at the Emirates, but I do have more confidence playing a team that will play football against us as well. So yeah, I think we could get a draw. Obviously, I'd absolutely love a win at Stamford Bridge. That'd be great because I just want to relive the memories of spanking you at the Amex. That was incredible. One of the best days of my life. So if we could do that again, but at Stamford Bridge.
Graham Potter just standing there totally helpless.
Is that a sympathy loss?
No, do you know what though? I did feel very sorry. There's a horrible moment in football, and Graham Potter is like the person I think of for this all the time. You know, in football with players, you know we can get very angry with them, can't we? But you know when it goes beyond that, when it turns into pity. You know, when you're just like I feel a bit like it with our defender Axel Disasi. I'm like, can you just stop giving this bloke the ball? He doesn't want, he can't deal with the ball. He doesn't want the ball at his feet. I feel sorry for him when you put him in that position. I felt like that for Graham Potter at Chelsea in the end. Like he had his hair cut and he got a new beard, and you're just like, mate, this job's eating you alive. This job is eating you alive.
Yeah. We've disowned him now. We're not really massive fans of Graham Potter. He done it brilliantly for us, but the way he left wasn't for us. But yeah,
send him to Everton and let him hear the booze there. That'd be great.
Yeah. Let's get onto it. Let's get onto what everyone's been waiting for. The Brighton fans have been crying out for it. So we did put a tweet out there before speaking to you. Sorry, and look, it wasn't the best response. I think a lot of people weren't happy with some of your comments. So I've gone to
you boys are probably going to get it in the neck for having me on. They're probably going to go, what on earth are you platforming this guy for?
well, Rory, now you said it, someone literally, one of the first replies was, I won't be watching it then. So that answers your
I'm going to cost you views here, lads. I'm very sorry.
Yeah. That's all right. We'll take it because we want to hold you accountable, Rory. That's what you're on for. You're
on trial on Seagulls Social.
Get the gavel out. Right. So these are 3 quotes I pulled out. All right. Okay. First one is, I think Brighton could be in trouble this season. There's an element of unsustainability with Brighton. You can't keep replacing brilliant players with brilliant players. So first of all, you've sort of touched on it already, but just briefly, do you still agree with that statement?
Yeah, I do actually. Like within that though, you know how Brighton fans, generally speaking, wouldn't like me, and I totally understand why. I'm not taking that personally at all. They're correct to not like me. I haven't been kind about their club, but you know that sentence there, that's full. There's a huge compliment in that, isn't there? You cannot keep replacing brilliant players. I'm acknowledging the job that's being done, but then also suggesting that it's unsustainable. For the record, I made the same point about Liverpool at one point. I said what Liverpool were doing, FSG, Klopp, everything at the club was perfect, wasn't it? Everything that Liverpool did from the top down was perfect. They sign a goalie, he becomes the best goalie in the world. They sign a centre-half, becomes the best centre-half in the world. They sign a left-back from Hull, he becomes the best left-back in the world. They unearth from their youth products the best right-back in the world. They sign Mohamed Salah, becomes the best player in the world. That's unsustainable, in my opinion, unsustainable. And Brighton scaled slightly back from what I've just described with regard to Liverpool. Brighton have done that. And I just think it's naturally unsustainable. I don't even think it's controversial for me to say unsustainable there. So I do think it's unsustainable, but I think that your board have also acknowledged that it is unsustainable, which is why you spent a lot of money this summer. You've realised that it is slightly unsustainable, and the way that football success can be sustained is by spending. So I do think that you've realised that as well. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, I think to an element it is fair. I think we get labelled, we get brought into Leicester and Southampton. Everyone's like, you're going to do a Leicester, you're going to do a Southampton. And I think that's where our frustrations and our, we think it's unfair, because I think we've superseded that, and we've got owner who actually cares and has actually financially backed us in comparison to, not to say Leicester didn't, to be fair to him. He did it, once they won the league, he did invest quite a bit. But I just feel like there's not as many similarities as maybe fans are making. But I don't think it's unfair for you to say it's unsustainable, because I think there will come to a point, maybe it's in 5 years or 10 years time. Yes, the model might not work. People are going to start figuring us out. They're going to start coaching our players.
Maz, all it takes is two duds. All it takes is for this amazing approach, this unearthing outrageously brilliant talent. All it takes is for it to not work on 2 occasions. And suddenly the balance of your team is completely off. And then I believe that you could be in trouble. I do stand by my words.
Yeah. All right. That's a cool case number one.
That's the easiest one, I think, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the easiest one, yeah. Now, this is the big one. This is one a lot of people didn't like when you said it. You said, I've got problems with teams like Brighton and Bournemouth. I just don't like small teams. I want big clubs, big stadiums. I want Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds, Sunderland. I want proper clubs. Now, Rory, please can you define to us what makes a proper club? Because that's the bit issue I had with this statement, is that what makes us not a proper club? Just because we don't have the trophies, maybe we don't have the size of the fan base.
History,
the history. And look, on that front, I'll concede you that we don't have.
But we're making history right now. That's the issue.
Yeah. So So what constitutes us as not being a proper
when you
club?
Read it out verbatim like that, it's awful, and I really don't mean it to sound as hateful as it does. And apologies to you all. The reason, but just for the record, I do also stand by it. What I like in football, what I like, do you know what I've always been really interested in? What I've always thoroughly enjoyed about football is football culture. As much as the game itself. But I've always been far more interested in how many Sunderland fans are drinking in the Euston Flyer more than how many forward passes did N'Golo Kante make this weekend. The culture around football, the support, how many do you take away? Watch the away end, like whatever. I'm always more interested in the culture of football. And for the Premier League to be as rich as when I say rich, I mean culturally rich, not financially rich. I don't care about that. Culturally rich. I think clubs and I'll put to you the question. I feel like clubs with Leeds United, Sunderland, Sheffield Wednesday are culturally richer football clubs than Brentford, Brighton and Bournemouth. Not to you. You are avid match-going fans. But there aren't as many of you. And also with Brighton, the full stadium now. Like, I've been to that ground once. I think we battered you about 4-0, actually. A long time ago, Williams scored a really good goal. But I remember being down. Do you remember? Yeah. It was over Christmas. Yeah. But I remember being down there.
Yeah, it's Christmas time, yeah.
It was over Christmas, yeah. I remember being down there. And it was a full stadium. You didn't have that amount of fans when I was a kid. Like, you just didn't. And that's why I said that. And that's why I think that the culturally richer clubs are preferred by me. But I'm sorry, it's hateful, and it's not aimed at you.
It happens over time, though.
Yeah.
It happens over time.
Well,
so when I go back to Brighton
just
now,
for the record, by the way, it's not aimed at you, and it won't be aimed at anybody listening to this. It's aimed at the family from London who have had 3 kids, moved to Lewes, become a bit of hipster, become hipsters, bought themselves some Crocs, and now have season tickets at Brighton because they don't go to Arsenal anymore. It's aimed at them, and they do exist.
No, 100%. Look, just quickly, Ben, I'll let you speak. Sorry, just really quickly. In terms of the attendance in the stadium, all the fans, I will concede that because, look, we're not renowned for our atmosphere. That's one thing I think all Brighton fans can agree on. We do have a lot of fair-going fans. You've got the corporate, you've got the hospitality, you've got a lot of international fans, a lot of Japanese, Ecuadorians that just come for the day and just want to see their favourite players. So I'll definitely concede you on that side of things. I think just in terms of culturally enriched clubs and, ones with, like the ones we mentioned, Leeds, Sunderland, yes, granted, you'll be more up for Leeds versus Chelsea than you are going to be Brighton versus Chelsea. Maybe not so much nowadays, but at the same time, in terms of we've earned our spot in the league. There's no question about whether we should be in the Premier League, and I feel like we're now becoming competitive enough to be taken seriously as well. So I think that side of things I don't agree with, but yeah, I do get what you're talking about in terms of the fair-going fans and the ones that sort of just turn up for a day out.
We are building that core, and obviously it takes time now that we are a big club. Obviously, more fans are going to start supporting us. But I live in London now. But when I went past Hove Park,
Ben, you're not helping our case.
Sorry, this was for work. Obviously, is why I moved. Still support Brian. I was walking past Hove Park, and every kid that was doing training wore a Brighton shirt. When I trained at Hove Park, when I was their age,
Everyone's
we all wearing
Arsenal
Premier
fan
League clubs
or
Brighton shirts. You supported when I was in primary school.
Annoying.
It was primary school. You supported top 4 team at the time, and you supported Brighton. And then you grow out of that when you go to secondary school. But
I
so
think
now it
the
is changing.
evolution
So
will
eventually
come.
in 20 years or 10 years, they're all going to come.
Yeah.
They'll all be Brighton.
And I
It's
look
like when
forward to
Booby
that.
said yesterday about Haaland tops in New York.
In New York, he was
very
right.
similar.
Though. Yeah, he was right on that.
But
no, that's more my issue. I've got no issue with the 7,000 that were at the Withdean, or you boys that follow it home and away. And it's not even about leaving Brighton to go to work in London. It's not that. It's more about the geezer that wasn't into football at all and has now got a Brighton season ticket, or even worse, the guy that used to support Tottenham but has now become really hipster and like a guardian dad or whatever they call it, and has got himself some Crocs and has gone vegan and has decided to support Brighton because he wasn't there. He wasn't there watching Bobby
It's
Zamora.
so bad because I literally just bought Crocs last week.
Yeah, there we
First
go.
time ever,
He
look.
wasn't there, but that geezer who would be old enough. There we go. See what you're doing. You're just I'm completely right. I've gone back on this here.
I bought them from Marbella. I cooked in Marbella. We're wearing them, so that's fine.
There we go. Are you vegan?
Ben, you're not helping us at all. You're vegan.
Oh, no.
Oh god, Ben, we're gonna
Next question. Shall I do the Tom Garrett one? We've actually got receipts here with this one. We got the dates.
Yeah, go
on August 1st, you tweeted Tom Garrett saying Brighton go down in response to his question of what's your roguish shout for the season. Do you still think that?
Very important. Very important. What I'm replying to is very important there. People don't acknowledge that. What I'm replying to is give me an outlandish take. Give me something that you don't think is going to happen but might happen and is wild. That was my...
So it was clickbait, Rory. Is that what you're saying?
No, it wasn't clickbait. I thought there was a world. I knew nothing about your manager, and the fact that he was younger than me made me think that you could go down. I don't think it was totally left field, totally wild, totally unthought out, but it was also answering, give me an unpopular opinion, give me a wild opinion. For example, when we've recently worked together with Jamie Carragher, Maz, and we were asked for wild opinions, we gave our version of wild opinions. We can't, Brighton going down. It wasn't like put £1,000 on something that will happen. I didn't say Brighton will go down to that. It was firstly also it's important to acknowledge the author. It's Tom Garrett, man. It's Tom Garrett, isn't it? Tom Garrett's gone. Tell me something mad. I've gone. Well, it's Tom. And Tom's pretty mad himself, so I've got to go that bit further anyway. So I've gone right. Let's go quite wild because it's Tom, and then go at that bit further. But I did think that there was potential for it to be a bad season for you. You know how we spoke? It's unsustainable. Will it come to an end?
A lot of people did.
Yeah, if we concede that it will come to an end at some point, one season that prediction will be right. And I thought this manager is so young. So you just
throw a dart at it, and then
I rated De Zerbi so highly. I rated De Zerbi, I rated Gross, and I knew nothing about your manager, to be frank. I probably should have done, I didn't. I did know his age, and I just thought, this is madness. Maybe.
I actually watched the clip that the TalkSport clip as well, where you talked about potentially us going down as well. And look, look, like I could see why, like from your perspective as someone, an outsider of the club. Look, you don't respectfully, you don't care about Brighton. You couldn't give a shit what we do. But from an outsider's perspective, you obviously seen a brand new manager coming in who's 31, with losing our best player,
Signed loads of players.
Signed loads of players. So I completely get where you're coming from on it. I'm not looking at you and thinking what an idiot, like what an idiot. But as insiders, as fans, we know what we've got. We know who we're signing. We know Tony Bloom. We believe in what he does and what he can achieve and how he's basically after season, no matter what's happened, he's always replaced well. So
it feels like he's the most important.
As Brighton fans, it was frustrating.
It feels like when you think about who's the most important person at the club, it is actually Tony Bloom, isn't it?
Country Mark.
No, he is.
He's
so
an
important. Icon as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, in the poker world, in the football world, also in the horse racing world as
Yeah.
well. But and then final one, then Ben, should we go with the best and worst one? Go with that one?
Yeah, go on then. Yeah. So wait, let me try and find this. So yeah, out of all the players and stuff that you've stolen from us, there's probably about 20 you can pick from here. So you should be right. Who's been the best and who's been the worst? So yeah, on and off the pitch.
Oh, I think the best has undoubtedly been Moises Caicedo. Like he really is turning into the player that we needed him to be. He is an excellent player. The link up that he had last year with Conor Gallagher was such a shame that was interrupted. And I think that he is going to be at the heart of Chelsea's midfield for the next decade. I think he really is that good. And he's now becoming everything that we need him to be. Controlling the game, controlling the tempo of the game, bossing the midfield. He's got that physicality that is so valuable at Premier League level. And
I don't need to hear this, Rory.
well, I mean, you know it as well, don't you?
Yeah, it's painful, yeah.
Sorry, am I right in thinking that is there like a narrative that Enzo and Caicedo
can't play together? No, well, it's not that.
Obviously terrible for Chelsea.
It's basically that Enzo Fernandez, in my opinion, isn't very good. He's not a very good player. It's not a cool thing to say. It's certainly not a hipster thing to say. It doesn't gather you any favour on social media. But Enzo Fernandez isn't very good. He isn't suited to a Premier League player. The game passes him by. He doesn't do enough. So it's very difficult it doesn't matter whether it's Conor Gallagher playing with Enzo Fernandez or Moises Caicedo playing with Enzo Fernandez. The problem is Fernandez. But you're right, we do have a problem because what we have in those two players is a midfield worth £250 million who can't play together. The luck that we're having is that Moises Caicedo is becoming so good that it isn't a debate anymore. It's like, well, okay, he has to play, and then we make it work with someone alongside him. Sometimes it will be Enzo Fernandez until potentially we sell him or he finds some form. But weirdly, he's been made our captain, which makes no sense. But he's certainly
James
the best.
On the pitch long enough, so.
No, Reece, it's a shame. It is a shame. In terms of the worst player to play for Chelsea and Brighton.
You can pick someone from off the pitch
Leon
and
Knight.
on the pitch here, which is quite exciting.
Leon Knight.
Wow, did not expect that.
I reckon Leon Knight. No, in terms of if I can pick off the pitch, I think it's going to be Win Stanley. I think the Win Stanley project and the keys to the kingdom that he's been given, it just baffles me. It blows my mind. You know, the ownership are so supportive of him. If anybody gets in his way, they leave. Pochettino, for example, clashed with him, and Pochettino had to make way. And do you know what I did? I did a little bit of research into the track record. I thought, who is this bloke? Whatever you think of Pochettino, I wasn't his biggest fan, but even if we're being a little bit snide to Pochettino, most people would concede that he's top 15 managers in world football, top 20, really knows football, right?
He's up there.
Got to be. I thought, I wonder who this Win Stanley is that we're backing. Let's look at his track record. Do you know what it is? Mate, I'm not even joking. It's a BTEC from Liverpool Polytechnic. That's who he is. That's what... I was just like, wait, it can't be that. It can't... I was like, it can't be that. But it is. It's a geezer. We've given the keys to the kingdom to this geezer that we've nicked out of Brighton. And his knowledge of football was learned at the Liverpool Polytechnic for a BTEC. So
it's a Liverpool spy. He's come to curse your club.
I can't believe it. Honestly, I just can't believe it. So no, I'm not a fan of the project and Win Stanley and whatever else.
Right. Brilliant. Right, final question, Rory, before we let you go. Actually, two final questions, actually. Are we still a small club after you've spoken to us today? Yes or no?
You're two gentlemen, and it's an honour to work with you both. But you support a club that are very small, yes. You support the second smallest team in the Premier League.
What?
But said with love.
Okay, so
And Brentford 20th, surely.
Oh,
yeah,
hang on.
who's the smallest?
No,
then?
it's Brentford, the smallest. Bournemouth,
Yeah.
19th. You are 18th.
Right.
But that's a
18th.
testament to how well you're doing because you're competing. You're not. You're going far and above.
Yeah, well, we ran out of time because we would contest.
Loads of
that,
screens have just been smashed then. Lots of
in
Apple
unison.
products.
Yeah.
In
The problem is,
unison,
I
you
love
just had
Brighton as well.
massive
I'm like, when I go walking around the lanes in the summer, I'm going to have to put a hard hat on or a disguise.
Yeah,
I'll get one of those
ballet.
noses with a little tash. You know those. I love it down
Mr.
there. I'm going to
Potato
be
Head.
terrified now. Yeah. Occasionally, I go to the dripping
No.
pan as well. Like that's kind of your neck of the woods.
you?
isn't it? Yeah, I love it there.
Yeah.
That is. You'll get a few
I
ultras there.
support them. I have like a soft spot for them.
Better beware. And then final question, Rory, before we let you go, what's your score prediction for Saturday?
Yeah,
think
what's
we
your
win the
Rogus
game.
score prediction?
I think it's very difficult to
5-0
predict, actually.
Brighton.
I'm gonna go for a 3-0 Chelsea victory.
Wow. Wow.
What do you reckon? What's yours, boys?
Just to spite you, I'm going to go
3-0
3-1
Brighton.
I think.
2-0 Brighton.
3-0 Brighton, yeah.
That was too easy.
Ooh.
No, do you know what? All joking aside, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw.
What do you reckon, Ben?
The way you carved West Ham open, especially with that Caicedo through ball, I can see that happening a number of times against us. So I'm going to have to say a Chelsea win, unfortunately. 2-1 Chelsea.
That's the
Ben, you
spirit, Ben.
traitor.
That's the spirit. Thank you so
I'm
much for having
being
me,
real.
gents.
I get cooked by Brighton fans
Yeah,
for
no.
being real.
Rory, honestly, thank you so much for joining us. Honestly, I really appreciate it. And I know a few fans might not watch this, but hopefully they do. And, you've been giving your
And apologies
your point
to
of view,
everyone
so,
who
yeah.
does.
No.
And also apologies to you two if I cost you massive amounts of views. So I'm sorry about that.
Top man, Rory. Thank you so much.
Cheers. An honour.
Thank you, Rory.
Cheers, lads. Thank
All
you
right,
so
peace.
much.
In a bit.
Cheers. Good luck.
In a bit.